Hello, everybody. This is Peter and Sylvia. We talk about all sorts of things to do with mental health and well-being in life in general and in business. So you will have noticed there's a lot of talk about AI at the moment. And we thought, whilst we've talked about technology before, we should do another round of AI because it keeps developing and it's exciting and it's scary and it's all sorts of things. And of course, our interest is in the area of mental health and well-being. So, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is that even the right question to ask?
Hmm. And I just say we are both humans. We are not bots. We are not auto
What
robots.
you're, what you're seeing right now is the real thing. It's not holograms or anything else. But something that I have noticed is more and more people are wanting me to get involved with AI some way or another.
Mhm.
Or clients telling me what AI told them,
Mm.
such as ChatGPT or Perplexity or Grok or what they're all called. So there are AI tools out there, and from the clients I usually work with, that's the lawyers, there's a lot of fear that they're now going to be replaced by AI.
Mhm.
And you and I, Sylvia, could perhaps also think that because you can now ask ChatGPT how to deal with your boyfriend's latest text message or how to deal with your mom when she's drunk and is trying to play up, um, that we will be replaced.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. And picking up on the point you just said there, we have touched on this before about mental or poor mental health diagnoses or neurodiversity diagnoses. People are going on to various um, tech to get diagnoses of things. So this reliance on tech, I think, picking going back to your point about will we be replaced? Um, Possibly in years to come. Who knows? I think at the moment, um, no. I think my personal view is that technology is a fantastic tool in all the various shapes and forms, chat GPT, AI, and all this stuff that we have, various apps and everything else. I think for me, they are um, as well as, not instead of. And I think we were discussing, weren't we, just before we started this conversation, that we've both had clients that have used chat GPT in between sessions that they have with us. In my case, my client was using it to support the work that we had been doing in our sessions. At the same time, if someone goes on to tech and asks for, picking up on what you just said there, asks for how to deal with, does that work or does it not? If it works, brilliant, fantastic. But if it doesn't, what then? So I think the personal touch is still very valid, talking to a human. Now, whether that's because I'm older, I still believe that connections and connecting with someone to have that understanding, that rapport, is still um, is something that AI still cannot produce.
And that's another thing that AI doesn't do, depending on which model you use, of course, because there are the public tools and then there are the proprietary tools.
Yeah.
So if you are, for example, a law firm, you can have your own in-house tech that learns everything that you do, how you do it, and therefore it comes up with answers to questions or suggestions that you are comfortable with because it's already been vetted by human beings.
Mm-hmm.
But if, as in the case of our clients, they jump on ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
which is for most of us a free tool,
Mm-hmm.
then everything that goes into ChatGPT is in the public domain,
Mm-hmm.
which means there's no confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
and I have, as rule number one, is we can keep our mouth shut.
Yep. Yep.
ChatGPT, you cannot shut up. There might be paid for versions that are different. That's the technical side of things that I'm not up to speed on. But we have to be careful that whatever we ask ChatGPT is actually out there and can be used for good and for bad.
Hmm.
And yes, I've had clients who have shown me ChatGPT solutions and suggestions that I then had to deal with and could really see immediately that I would not have suggested what ChatGPT did because I have the history of knowing the client.
Hmm.
ChatGPT doesn't.
Hmm.
Another client says, "Well, yeah, it gave me suggestions how to deal with mum, and it worked. It worked a treat."
Yeah.
So it's not whether it's good or bad. It is, I think, whether it's being used appropriately.
Yeah.
And as we've also talked about, how do we know if we use it appropriately?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we know?
Yeah. Yeah. And there, and picking up, and just as I'm sitting here, there's another angle. If we are then becoming, we always go to these tools. Where and how does that fit with the latest buzzword people think, but as you and I has been going around for years, resilience, autonomy,
Mm.
the ability and capability of independent thinking, independence. If we're always relying on these tools, and we become over reliant on them, how is that going to, or could it affect a decline in our cognitive ability, where people are always relying on something else to do it for them? Then people lose the ability to practice and develop their own skills. Is it a case of, oh, this is happening, I'll check on my app. Oh, that's just happening, I'll check here. What impact does that have on us up here? I've heard the phrase, cognitive decline and cognitive offloading. Now, I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, against technology. At the same time, there is an element of, let's look potentially at the downsides of this so we can actually mitigate and make sure that it doesn't go down that route. It's like, from a risk management point of view, you look at what could happen, so then you find a way to make it not so. So this constant, like, your example of your client, or how do I deal with mum's drinking? Oh, ChatGPT told me that, fantastic. But where does that leave that person's ability to deal with it themselves? And again, that sort of, that wonder, that curiosity of the potential impact of this further down the line. It's a bit like when we had COVID, everyone's stuck at home. They're only now doing surveys and research on the impact that has had.
Mm.
So it's interesting. Yeah. And to say, I'll just reiterate, for me, it's an as well as, not an instead of.
It's not going to make people redundant. I think, as with all other types of technology that have been developed over the decades and centuries,
Mm,
it
mm,
changes what we do,
mm,
takes away certain tasks that we would probably rather not do anyway, and then it adds new ones that we have to
mm.
learn. But in terms of therapy and coaching, it's also about, I think, which source do people trust?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
trust another human being and take their advice in the situations where we give advice? Or do you trust some sort of electronic thing
Mm,
out there that tells you without blinking
mm,
what you should do and what you should not do,
mm.
without
That's,
asking too many questions? Because you, when using AI, have to ask the follow-up questions. It may prompt you to say, well, would you know more about this or more about that? So you can have a kind of conversation. I
mm.
just think that there's people out there who think they are actually talking to a real person, and they're not.
There's a couple of things there that have popped up while you were talking. Um, First of all, it's how you ask the question. You know,
Mhm.
how do you ask the question to get the answer that you need or want or would like? And when people talk to a human being, that person may say something, and you and I may go, what do you mean by that? What's that like? Can you describe that further?
Hmm.
Whereas a robot won't actually do that. And then secondly, what popped up was, why is it and how is it that a human being will rely and trust potentially tech or a robot rather than a fellow human being? And that
Yeah.
opens up all sorts of different questions there as to why that is so. And it's it's the conversation. And it's interesting also how, if say, for example, now I tapped into my machine here, something straight away up will come an answer. Straight away, just like that.
Mm.
Whereas in a conversation, you and I may pause, we may ask further questions to get more clarity, more information, and have a conversation. And that's, but it just makes me wonder, why then would someone rely and take as gospel potentially what comes up on this screen versus what another human being would say?
I understand the need for speed in the way in the
Yes,
world we live in. It's
yes.
all very much about speed and perfection and glamour, and that's one side of it. And then there's all the negativity that is drowning us everywhere. But it's just the reliance on automation rather than human beings. Are we moving away from having human interaction?
Mm,
That's the direction that I worry about. I'm
mhm,
not afraid of the technology. I am
mm,
attending courses on AI
yeah,
and information about this and that because I need to understand what is this.
mm,
Because until then, I can run on opinions, being scared, being worried, being over enthusiastic.
mm,
Um, Right now, I'm well and truly on the fence. I use what I think is appropriate for my practice, and I ditch what isn't.
mm,
So I think, Sylvia, what we can do with this conversation is absolutely get nowhere towards
mm,
good, bad, or indifferent, because that's
mm,
not the right answer. But
mm,
to invite those who have stuck with this conversation to come up with their opinions, their
mm,
ideas, their experiences of how AI works or doesn't in the mental health and well-being setting.
mm. No, and that will be the thing, won't it? It will be an opinion.
Yeah.
The point is that that is an opinion, and everyone will have a different opinion. And I say, I still maintain that they are an as well as, not an instead of. There are parts where it can complement, but at the same time, is it a reliance? And there's a lot of opinion around that.
Yeah. So let's start with the guesswork and ask everybody out there, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
AI and mental health and well-being?
Mm.
So thank you for staying in the course, and we shall see you in a later video. Bye for now.
Cheerio. Thank you.